2, 1, you're on the air.
Good evening, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. This is the August 20th Environmental Conservation Board. We have an agenda tonight with 3 items on it. We'll go ahead and get started with the first one. This is for Michael Panny, SMP Homes, 10 Lower Lake Road, tax map 43.17-1-47, construction of a single-family home. Can you please come up and state your name?
My name is John Carell. I'm representing the owner, Michael Panny. He's proposing to build a house on Lower Lake Road. This is the second time we've been here. We have a wetland on the property. We're constructing a driveway and a house and a septic system. We've been to the health department and DEP. We're pretty close to finalizing their approval. This is a town wetland, not a state wetland. There's 7,343 square feet of disturbance in the wetland buffer. Total of 13,000 square feet total disturbance. There's no disturbance in the wetland. We propose mitigation. Our consultant, Ted Kozlowski, proposed removal of invasive species and planting of 5 red maples and 3 serviceberry trees as mitigation. And you know, this is one of the, this is a lot.
You take the one off the stand, probably.
This is a lot in an old subdivision. The gray area is the area of disturbance within the wetland buffer. There was a suggestion that we move the well further away from the wetland than we have. The septic system is up in here. That's it.
Could you just quickly again outline the mitigation?
The mitigation? Well, it was moving the well away from further away from the wetlands. Invasive species removal, basically vines and other growth that doesn't belong there, and 5 red maples and 3, serviceberry. Is that a tree?
Yeah. It's I had to look that up too.
Serviceberry, yeah, it is serviceberry. Our consultant gave us that.
It's like blueberries, except they grow on trees. So just to make sure, can you just trace on there where the 100-foot setback goes? I just want to make sure you don't have to just use your
Well,
fingers.
this black line
Yep.
is the 100-foot setback. And it's the gray, the end of the gray.
Got
So the gray is the area of disturbance within the buffer.
And this is from an actual, the wetlands is from you said of Town of Carmel wetlands. Like, it's actually wetlands, there's no water courses there.
Yeah, there is a intermittent stream that comes
see that.
down along here.
Between what, 6 and 7 or something?
Excuse me?
With the flags on?
Numbers. Well, no, the flags are the flags are the wetland boundary, but here, if you want, there's a, if you look at the contours here, it's just a drainage ditch. It flows down through here and this way, and it goes into the road and into this catch basin. Oh, and one of the things, I guess, the question was, can we put this water into the leaders and gutters into the catch basin? And the highway superintendent said yes.
Yes. Okay.
The stream that you're talking about, is it an ephemeral stream, an intermittent stream? What kind of stream is it?
We call it a drainage ditch. I mean, I guess you could call it an intermittent stream. It pretty much only flows after rainstorm events and in the spring. Has some groundwater discharges into it in the spring, but now it's dry. It doesn't take any stormwater off any roads.
You're not doing anything near that anyhow.
Excuse me?
You're not doing anything near that, so it shouldn't be a problem.
No, yes. I mean, the stream originates behind these houses that are along Chestnut Ridge Road.
I'm just wondering, why does it feel that the well had to be moved further away from the wetland?
Just to keep it further from the wetland, so that when you construct the well, you're going to have well millings or rock millings. Wells are drilled in rock, so it just increases the. If it's closer to the wetland, the more probability you may get something
Yeah.
into the wetland. So that makes sense.
Is the driveway for this is going to be going into Lower Lake Road?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the construction entrance there is going to become that's what's going to become the driveway to the home.
Yes.
So part of the driveway, and I assume it's going to all be asphalt.
Yes.
Okay, so part of the driveway, not the whole thing, obviously, but part of the driveway, the driver leading, maybe about halfway to the house,
Yeah,
is within the 100-foot buffer, correct?
correct.
All right, just want to make sure I got my bearings here. And currently, the house leaders are running into,
Into
right now
that,
you would plan to run them into the catch basin, is that correct?
yes.
All the house leaders, even from the, what's that?
Yeah, they'll bring it around the house, the gutters around the house, and take it all into that catch basin.
Okay. I see it says here, there's a 4-inch house sewer, is that, oh, that's running to the septic, got it, okay. Do we need, these leaders, well, I guess we don't. I mean, if you're running the pipe around the house, do we need those leaders on the map here? The one that's running around the house? He's got the ones that are coming from the east side of the house, 2 of them, which I know that was a comment as well, running to the catch basin.
Well, I mean,
I don't think so.
if you want,
It's
if,
fine.
if you're seeking to get this hopefully get a complete application tonight,
Yeah.
it could be a condition that I show the
Putting tree.
piping around so that it's clear that it's all going there.
Are you gonna be putting any sort of drainage for the driveway?
No, the driveway will sheet flow down the hill because there's a drainage ditch that goes along the road to that catch basin. So any water that comes off that driveway will stay along the side of the road and go into the catch basin.
Is there a ditch along the side?
Yes, yeah, yes.
Because that's not shown on the plan.
No, but I can indicate that I can indicate a ditch there.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Do you know about how many trees are going to be taken down? Do you have that number at all? Right now, the property has a lot of trees on it, correct? It's it's an undeveloped property right now.
Correct. I mean, there's not a lot of trees, but any tree within the area of disturbance, which is pretty much from here up to the road, is going to be taken down.
Sure. Do you know, if you could give us a ballpark, are you taking down like 25, 30 trees that are over 6 inches?
We're trying to get away from a tree plan, but
I know. You're not going to need a tree plan for this. I verified that.
okay. You want me to give you a ballpark number?
Yeah, so right now, if you're gonna be clear cutting, my concern here is, one of the things that we're looking at is the runoff on this property and what the soil can actually retain, right? One of the ways that you can do mitigation for that, increase the amount of water that this soil can actually filter in a pretty amount of time. You do infiltrators, as we said, you do detention ponds, you can put them into the catch basin. But another way is to put in trees. Trees soak up a lot of the water, the roots end up breaking up compacted soil so it can actually retain more water and let it percolate slower through. So if you're gonna be cutting a lot of trees from this property and replacing it only with, what did you say, three maples?
5 and 3 is 8, yeah. Well, it was-
Saskatoons,
But that's
don't
gonna,
get too big, but sure, I
Yeah.
understand that. Is there an opportunity here for us to maybe put in a few more plantings? I know it's a pretty tight property, and you're probably not gonna wanna put too many of these large trees near the house, but you do have a bunch of, seems to be a lot of other areas that may be open for some sort of plantings. Even, you got a pretty steep grade going in this whole property line. So I assume the runoff from the west side of the property actually flows down into the,
this whole
wetlands.
property drains to that ditch on this side of the road.
it does, okay.
And it's all gonna go to the catch basin. I mean, I can't plant trees within 10 feet of the septic area. There's really not a lot of, and only other
Where were you
places
planning to plant the trees right now?
in this wetland area here. The wetland, I didn't locate where the trees are going, but,
Well, you could probably put some trees where your concrete washout area is and where your stockpile area is, in that particular area. I mean, I think what Nick is trying to say is that you've got trees here, okay, you're gonna be removing the trees, and even in the septic field, you're gonna be removing a lot of trees. And while you're not gonna be impervious, okay, you're probably, it's probably gonna be grass, I'm guessing, or maybe not, I don't know, maybe if you tell us something different. But in any event, the trees are gonna be much more retentive of rainfall
Right, how
than just
about it-
grass would be. So there is gonna be an increase, I'm not quite sure.
well, how about I got 8 from the wetlands, how about we go with a total of 20? 20 like 20 trees, up to 2 inches, 2.5 inches in caliper, probably maples.
But the choice is yours, just make them appropriate. But that sounds good. And if you could put some on the, between the septic field and the driveway, that would be probably good.
Yeah, over there, yeah.
You use it, well, we could leave it to your judgment, but I think you're right. I think Nick is making a point, we'd like to see some more trees, and I feel that same thing too. And to me, off the top of my head, 20 sounds okay to me, okay?
Okay.
And you use your judgment where they go, that's all. And you'll also put in the ditch, make sure we have the ditch.
Yeah, the
that's
ditch,
in there, and also show the piping on the plan.
yes.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
um, um, um,
This is a tight lot, this is a difficult
is.
lot.
I know,
Yeah.
And,
agree with that.
well, we could see that.
Okay, the
Sure.
trees, the existing trees, you still want me to try to give you a ballpark on how many?
I don't know if it's necessary.
I-
Like I
I-
said, we're not going with a tree
No.
permit.
No,
It's ju-
That's good, thank you.
that's superfluous. See,
Right,
You do the 20 and that'll be fine.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I'm good with that. I had a couple other just.
The other thing is that we should add, try to, let's say, maintain existing trees as much as possible.
What do you mean?
If he doesn't have to cut a tree, don't cut the tree.
Sure.
In other words, around the field, certainly gonna have to cut the trees. Around the house, certainly gonna cut the trees. But, around the house, where the house, the footprint of the house, but try to maintain as many of the existing trees as possible.
I'll put a note on the plan to that effect. I mean, these
Okay.
builders, it costs them money to cut a tree down, so
I know.
they're gonna try to minimize it to the extent possible.
And we know it's a give and take, it's a balance, because you don't really want trees too close to the house.
Right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so using your judgment too with that, that'd be fine.
Cool. I'm good with that. I had a couple other comments I just wanted to review real quick. The wetlands inspector note about being called out there before and after. Well, I guess are you putting in any silt fence?
What was that?
Is there any silt fence going in?
Yeah, it's all over the place, there's silt fence.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see. All right, so on the construction sequence, which I know that you added, but I don't know if I saw that in here. Obviously, the same standard notes that the wetlands inspector needs to see the silt fence after it's put up. And then before you take it down, he needs to be called out there to review it again. I don't think I saw that in the construction sequence when I looked, but it could be there.
Maybe not. I'll check.
Okay,
So this wetland inspector inspects it prior to construction
right.
and no takedown until after he inspects it.
right.
Review
Okay.
separate footing for drain lines, yeah, and fueling. And I saw I think I saw a note that you include the fueling plan, silt fence, and the washout, yeah, okay, spill kit, awesome. Yeah, those are the only notes that I had from reading through the last meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other things they would like to bring up? I think we can vote on this with those conditions that we just brought up.
Yep.
All right, so let me just review those again real quick for you. There were only 3 that I had. And put the ditch in the driveway on the map,
It's a ditch along the street,
along the
road.
street.
on the street.
Right, along street. A note indicating the number of trees and type of trees that you're gonna be planting,
20,
right?
Yep.
A note indicating that you're gonna try to keep as many of the trees that are on site as possible, maintain the trees that are as possible.
Yep.
And then, the piping around the house
Yep.
on the plan.
Yep.
Those are the 3 things.
so
Okay.
if you could just alter the plans and take care of that and submit it, that should be a
Yeah,
problem.
so I'll entertain a motion with with those 3 conditions that those.
There's 4, isn't there?
4? What was the 4th one? Did I miss one?
Fourth one was the wetland inspection.
Wetlands inspector, right, you're right. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion with those 4 conditions, put the ditch along the street on the map, add a note indicating that the 20 trees will be planted, and keep a note indicating that keep as many trees as possible on the property that are currently existing. Add the piping on the plan, goes around the house, and then wetlands inspector note on the construction sequence,
Before and after that.
before and after. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so please make sure that you get that information to Rose by Monday morning, and so you can get it advertised.
Okay, thank you very much on that one. And then I got another one.
All right, pass me back your sheets, please. You're up.
Okay.
You walk away.
What's that? Oh, okay. That's good. All right, this is a house being constructed
Just give me one second, Jack, 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Oh. Which one was yours? I don't know where it went.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Item number 2 on the agenda tonight is Fatimir Osmanaj, 15 Adam Wagner Lane, 42, tax map 42-1-6, construction of a single-family home. Go ahead and state your name for the record and who you're here to represent.
My name is John Carell. I'm representing Mr. On Adam Wagner Drive. This is a house or a vacant lot in a relatively recent subdivision off the cul-de-sac of Adam Wagner Drive. There's a wetland. off of Adam Wagner Drive, the driveway comes up to a house. The house, the septic, and probably half the driveway are out of the wetland buffer. This portion, the gray portion of the driveway, is within the wetland buffer. There's no disturbance into the wetland itself. This is a state wetland, and we've been through the state DEC, and they had some comments, relatively minor. They asked for mitigation, in this case, of a permeable driveway pavement within the 100-foot setback. The disturbance within the buffer is 3,473 square feet. Total
Can you say that
disturbance,
again? What was the disturbance?
3,473 square feet.
Thank you.
Total disturbance is 36,900 square feet. And there's zero disturbance within the wetland. And this house is a 3-bedroom house. He originally wanted 4, but the septic area started to septic area is here. Could have done a 4, but try to keep the disturbance down. And the only really significant state comment was as an alternative to asphalt, using permeable pavement within the piece in the wetlands. And we've been to the health department, and we expect their approval within the week.
Pavement is it?
It's called permeable pavement.
It's not asphalt.
No, but it's a type of asphalt that allows water
Okay,
to
so the
percolate
fines
through.
are not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it,
Right.
okay. That's good. Don't put sand down on it in the winter.
There's nothing on the lot now.
Vacant lot, yes.
Has any
Light,
tree
it's
work-
lightly
has
wooded.
any tree work been done or anything?
Excuse me?
Any tree work been done at all?
No.
No ground movement or anything?
No what?
No ground movement?
No, except for the deep holes for the health department.
Right, okay.
So on your construction sequence, you'll have to add, off the top of my head, you'll have to add the
Same
wetland
thing.
inspector again.
Yep. Also, I don't think I put in the notes relative to that we did on the other plan, but I'll get them on there. The normal notes, spill kit and all that stuff. That's my confession.
Fueling plan. Overnight parking.
Stockpile area?
Do you have that? Do you have a stockpile area? He does have a stockpile in here. You have, I assume that you have the detail in here as well on the standard. Yeah, it's silt fence, well,
You have to put on,
stockpile.
you'll have to put on a plan about the limitations of cutting the trees too.
Yeah, I'll put that note on the plan too, yeah.
What, the one about keeping as many trees?
No,
What are
no,
you
no.
talking about?
He has a requirement, you can only cut trees between November 1st and
Oh, yeah.
March 31st because of the bats.
Yeah, I think we can add a blanket one that's a blanket thing that says what the DEC has asked for.
You may want to
DEC.
also have the driver has to be 10 feet.
The what does?
The driver has to be only 10 feet wide. That's DEC's requirement.
Yeah.
You could just repeat it, just.
Right, all the DEC, obviously all the DEC requirements we would expect to
Right.
make its way onto this plan.
Yes.
Okay. So can you, I mean, with regards to the part that we're regulating here, which is the part within the wetland buffer, and obviously putting down that driveway, can you just give us an outline of the sequence of construction? When do you plan to do that? Are you gonna be doing a stabilized entrance, and that's later? Are you doing that early in the project?
Well, the stabilized entrance comes in first.
Right?
And also, one other DEC thing was to reduce the driveway to the
10 feet.
10 feet.
maximum, yeah, it was 10 feet, because we had 12, that's what normally they build driveways now, but it's 10. Yeah, the sequence, I will add from the previous project to the sequence.
Are you gonna be using silt fencing?
Yes.
Is that on the plan already?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he has the detail on there too. I see it. It's still fencing, it's going all the way around to here. This is the wetlands. Is there a reason you didn't, well, you're gonna be digging up the area that is obviously for the, what's this over here? Septic field, but it looks like your silt fence ends before you get to where the septic field is being worked on. I see a second row over here when you have the footing for roof drains, and also there's a stone riprap that's coming off the leaders of the bedroom here.
You know what
So-
it was?
I mean,
Originally, we had no fill, and then the health department required 6 inches of fill. So I have to show some silt fence below that last contour line, above the 970 contour. That's simple enough. I'll just extend that silt fence line that's below the footing and gutter drain discharge all the way over to the property line.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Before and after wetland inspection?
Yep. So I have another concern here. The roof, the footing and, the footing and roof drains are coming into a stone riprap that's ending right before the 100-foot buffer here. I realize that ends right before the 100-foot buffer. However, that runoff is gonna run right down that 100 feet. I mean, it's kind of like, let's say it like this, if it was in the 100-foot buffer, we would say, can we put that into a rain garden or something? It is just outside the 100-foot buffer here.
Well, what I can do is I can move it over towards the septic system
Yeah,
and dump it in the area. I can get closer to you. I can dump it over here so that you have a distance between that and the wetland buffer for the soil to absorb it.
yeah, I think I would prefer that. Anything that you can get to discharge further away. And it is totally outside the buffer, so I don't think we should really ask for the rain garden. Unless they want to put a nice little garden in, that would be great too, but at least moving it further away from the 100-foot setback would be.
You know, I think the code has provision for going beyond 100 feet.
Does. That's in, I can't remember the circumstances, but
If it is not a steep gradient.
if it is a steep grade?
Not-
Oh, I see.
That's kind of flat in there. You can see and there's a stone wall just below the 100-foot buffer that it's gonna.
Is there? Is that, where, can you point to that on the map?
Right here, the stone wall.
I see.
Yeah. So all of that'll help stop I don't think it's ever going to get there because the soils are pretty good, infiltration-wise. So once it spreads out, it's going to go into the ground.
So how far away from the wetland boundary are you proposing?
The buffer?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting that
Just estimate,
30, 60, 60 feet.
60 feet from the
Buffer.
From the buffer.
From the buffer.
Yeah.
Drains. Cool. All right.
Or spill kit.
Yep, so we have, I have on the note here, spill kit fueling plan, overnight parking, obviously outside any buffer. Let me see. No, no, all right, I don't really have too many other comments here personally. I know you're installing the pervious cement, pervious
Pave-
asphalt here,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. I don't think we have a lot of properties that have that right now.
That's right.
I'm anxious to see how that holds up in a few years. One other item I think we should talk about here is, the trees on this property. I mean, the trees in the wetland in the area here, but what's the plan right now for removing the trees on this property? Because you just mentioned that this is not developed right now. It's got the stone wall, but that's all it's got on it, right? So are they going to be, is the plan to clear cut the entire property like the previous one? Are they just gonna be removing stuff that is outside the buffer? Like, what's the plan?
No, of course not. I mean, there's a limited disturbance line, and it's pretty tight. It runs along the driveway, around the back of the house where there's some grading on top of the septic. So this whole area here, and this area on the side, and anything below the septic area, we're not touching anything. I mean, this is a big lot too here. I mean, so there's a lot of trees in this wetland buffer and in the wetland. So yeah, we're not clear cutting the lot. He's gonna minimize, and I'll put the same note on it, that we're gonna minimize.
So it's basically the house in the septic area.
Right. And the driveway.
The only thing in the buffer area is that part of the driveway.
Right. Right, okay. Are they gonna be doing any, I missed this in there, are they gonna be doing any replanting, any sort of plants, for the property?
No, we were just gonna, the state didn't require it, and the state just required the permeable pavement and the reducing the driveway width. I mean, it's pretty heavily wooded.
Yeah. I think on this one I'm more apt to be flexible. I mean, the area that you're putting in is still going to be permeable. We are, there is some disturbance here, but I think this is a good opportunity to use what the DEC has proposed as some mitigation on here. And you've already indicated you're going to be reducing the size of the impacted area from the 12-foot driveway to a 10-foot driveway using permeable asphalt. So I don't know if I have any more comments. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items on here, but does anybody have any other things they want to bring up?
I think it was covered.
Good, all right, so, let's see. Let me just see on here, I don't think, obviously, the DEC permit part of this is, you are required to get a DEC permit before we can, grant our permit.
Well, I don't know that you have to wait until the DEC
Conditional?
issues their permit. Although, well, if you go through the process and you can make the approval, your approval conditional
Right, conditional on
upon.
that. Right, so, I mean, that can wait until we're 2 weeks from now. And,
Yeah, right.
The couple of things I have on here, wetlands inspector note, after you install the silt fence, but before you start work. And then again, before you remove the silt fence at the conclusion of the project, adding the standards that we usually do, the spill kit, make sure that's on the map. And
Yep.
you have a note about that, what's included in that. Fueling plan, obviously not within the buffer. Overnight parking outside the buffer, preferably on overnight, on poly, but that's your decision, as long as it's outside the buffer. DEC, all the DEC requirements on here. So there were 3 notes in here, I'll read them real quick. Actually, there were only two conditions. One was reducing to 10 feet, as I mentioned previously, and also using permeable pavement, adding both of those notes to the plans. Extend the silt fence below the gutter to the property line, so that's just all the way to the property line before below
Yep.
the gutter drains. Move the drains as existing on the map. Move those drains that I just mentioned previously to below the septic, which puts it roughly 60 feet outside the buffer. And then finally, a note indicating that you'll minimize the removal of trees that are existing on the property. Did I miss anything?
Yeah.
All right.
You think we should accept that?
So, to this, it's adding a couple of things that we normally ask for. I think that there's there's nothing that material that we're asking to change on the plans, and if they're in there by Monday, I mean, it's a matter of the real ones on here are moving the outlet of the drains to be further away from the property, and making sure that on the map, the silt fence is extended to the property line, which it's most of the way there. There's the DEC requirements on here, and the rest of these are a couple of text edits on here. So I don't see that we would need to, unless there's anything in here that you feel requires us to review again.
No, I think it would depend on the amount of impact, but it's just the driveway that's gonna, no, just let it go. Just go with it.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion then with those items I just mentioned. I will review them one more time just to make sure that they're within the motion we're passing here. Wetlands inspector needs to be called after you install the silt fence for the first time before you start work, and then at the end of the construction before you remove the silt fence. Adding to your plans here, spill kit, where that's going to be, what's included with that, the fueling plan for any heavy machinery, and what you're going to be doing about overnight parking for any heavy machinery on the property. You need to include the DEC requirements within this plan. It needs to actually be stated in here. The two that I'm referring to are that the driveway is going to be reduced to 10 foot in width as opposed to what is currently at 12 foot, and also that you're going to be using permeable pavement, which I believe is currently in the plan, as we reviewed already. You need to extend the silt fence all the way to the property line, so it is covering the entire length of the property where the construction is going to be happening. You need to move the drains that are coming off of the house to be below where the septic is. That should be about 60 feet outside the buffer zone. And then finally, a note indicating that to minimize the removal of trees where possible of the existing trees on the property. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. All right, so you got to get these changes to Rose by Monday. We'll get it advertised and see you back in 2 meetings,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
All right,
2
thank you,
weeks.
thank you very much.
Oh, no, no,
2 weeks?
no,
2 meetings.
2 meetings,
Right, 30 days.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. See you back in 4 weeks.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Me too.
Yeah, you too.
All right. If you guys could pass over your items. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so now we are on to item number 3 this evening. That's William Casiglio, 186 Route 6N, tax maps 86.5-1-52. This is install a batting cage and seating area and fence. Is that you? Come on up, state your name and who you're here to represent. You're here to represent.
Sure, my name is, you guys can hear me okay? Okay, I'm Bill Consiglio, Bill Stein. I'm here to represent myself and my kids.
Welcome, so go ahead and tell us about the project you're working on here.
Sure, just love baseball, love kids. I have a couple, so, kids. So, just hoping to put in a batting cage in our yard. I stopped by a couple weeks ago, just to kind of gauge it, and, you know, the reason I'm here, I think, namely, is because our property borders on the wetlands, right? So just trying to do the right thing, and, you know, please tell me what we need to do, and hopefully we can do that.
I appreciate you coming before us tonight. You don't get that from many people who are trying to do this kind of work, so I appreciate that. So I did have a chance to read through the plans here, and I appreciate you putting this all together for us. There's a few things that, off the top of my head, that I think we'll need, but before we do that, if you could just explain a little bit about, like, you know, we all have this in front of us,
Sure.
the plans that you have.
Yeah, so
So if you could explain a little bit about the plans, give us an understanding of the property, where you're gonna be putting this batting cages and everything.
Sure. So this is the street view, right? So if we're standing on the double yellow looking at the property, it's kind of a funkily located property. If you look, you see the house is kicked back, and we're looking to put the property, the project in the left, in what we call in the house the flat. It's the only flat land that we have. So where it says 72 feet, that box with dots represents the actual batting cage. Those dots represent the where the poles would go in the ground. To the left, where you see those X's, it's a three-part project: a batting cage, a little mini dugout or seating area, just a glorified bench area with a roof and siding, sidewalls, I should say, and then potentially a green chain link fence. I'd like to be clear, I don't want anything to jeopardize the cage itself. The cage is by far the priority here. So, you know, obviously if I could build a little mini dugout, just a little theme for the kids, but also protect from the sun, because it's the sun would be, if you're looking at the map, the sun's coming from here, it's pretty strong, so just a little sun shield for the kids. And this is my very primitive drawing and description, so please let me know whatever you would like to know. When I came here, I'm not a construction person by any sense, but they said definitely put up a silt fence, I guess, to prevent, harmful runoff to the wetlands. This is set back a ways from the road as well, at least over 100 feet. But I believe we're in the buffer zone.
Okay.
So,
One thing is missing, we don't know where it says wetlands over there, but we usually require a wetland line
okay,
along the edge of the wetland, because our jurisdiction goes from in the wetlands and then 100 feet beyond.
right.
So from looking at this, it looks like you probably are within that 100-foot buffer, which means you have to get a permit from the board here. Okay, but we need a better determination of where the wetlands are.
Okay, sure. How can I secure that? What would I do?
Kozlowski,
You may have to hire someone to flag it.
wetlands, yeah.
What was that?
Well, wetlands, like Kozlowski or somebody like
Right,
that.
yeah.
Would that be available already on some public document or some,
No.
no?
No.
What
You
kind
can
of
look it
wetland
up.
is this, do you know?
No, I
Wetland
don't know at
inspectors,
all.
local.
No.
Are you aware of what kind of wetlands this is? Is this in New York State, DEC? Is this the town of Carmel wetlands? You could get that information from Rich Franzetti in the engineering department. He's the town engineer.
Okay,
But he won't be able to tell you where the delineation of the wetlands. You still need the delineation of the wetlands.
So essentially, what we're saying here is, usually we require on the map, right? You
Yep.
need to draw, let's say the wetlands was an oval over here, it was a
Right.
lake or something. 100 feet from the shoreline, you need to show us where that 100-foot area is. So this way, we can determine what's within our jurisdiction, what's your business with,
Okay.
maybe the engineering department or somebody else if necessary. So, that's kind of what we need, because we're kind of shooting blind here. with
Right.
Trying to understand, is this whole thing in there? Is the wetlands right on your property line, in which case, we can kind of make some estimates on here, but we're not sure.
sure.
So we will definitely need that line on here. Like I said, depending on what kind of wetlands it is, there may or may not be maps already. So when you get up to like state level maps, there may be satellite imagery maps, or there may be the New York State has a GeoMapper type program that you can go online and see what their delineations are. So if it's a New York State wetland, you can do that. If it's a town wetland, unfortunately, I don't think there's any maps for that. You'll have to ask somebody to come, you'll have to hire somebody to come flag that. And there's a number of vendors in town and throughout the area here that can do that.
Let me ask you a couple other questions.
Sure.
You have these, looks like they're posts, right, to hold up some sort of, for the batting cage. What's the material between the posts?
Nothing. It's just batting cage netting,
Yeah,
like a
just netting,
nylon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a series on one side and series on the other side.
Yes.
Does that mean it's gonna be netting all the way around?
Correct.
Okay.
So it would be
So
two.
the base, the home plate is gonna be near where you have the seating, on that side?
Correct.
Okay, and that'll be open on that side?
No.
No, it won't be, no, okay, so it's gonna be all the way around.
All
And
enclosed.
the roof too, I
Okay.
assume.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Netting on the roof.
Oh, yeah, but, see, see, you're just gonna be digging 2, 4, 5, 10 holes, okay? I don't see that as being a big project, okay? So, but you still have to come, okay? You still have to come to get a permit from us. The other thing, but what is a bigger project, I think, is what you're putting using seating or dugout, whatever you're calling it, over there. We need more information on that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll need that, you have to draw that onto the plan so we get some idea. The other thing too is if you're doing seating, I don't know if there will be a zoning problem or not, but, because you might be too close to the property line, I don't know. But you might be best off just inquiring about that.
The seating area is consisting of what?
Sure. So a bench, and then just picture a lean-to, just 3 sides, sidewall, wood, roof. So like the kids sitting in the dugout at the field, now they're just sitting there.
So you're
but-
not excavating that, it's just
No.
going for the flat,
Okay.
okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Is
And
it
again,
gonna
Oh,
be-
it's not going down. Okay.
no.
Why do you need sides on it?
As opposed to just a bench? Sure.
No,
So-
just posts and a roof. It's your choice, I'm just.
Sure.
I'm just-
So, no, great question. So if you were the 3 boys from the Sandlot sitting in the dugout right now, right, it would be hardly any wider than
3 sides at the top?
2 sides, yeah, 3 sides and a top, right. So.
So it
where
is
we're-
gonna be 3 sides,
Where
okay.
we are sitting here, the sun, the west is right there, right there, and it's pretty blaring, especially in the summer when kids are using it. So it's a nice sun shield as well.
Okay.
That's really all that it is.
Just want to know what it was going to be.
Of course,
But
of course.
we need the position of, we have to have some more, a little bit of
Sure.
detail on 3 sides, whatever it's gonna be.
Okay.
Is there going to be lighting?
Good question. I have no short-term plans for that. Meaning, I've thought when my kids are older, now they're 6 and 9, maybe when they're 14, 15, I'm thinking, do I get some sort of lighting? I'm sure that brings you right back here, but,
It can, or it cannot.
okay.
Depends on what kind of wires you're using and stuff.
Now, why are you adding this chain link fence?
Sure. So one, when I thought of it, just aesthetics, like you're going to the fields, you have your chain link fence, we would put up just a simple green windscreen, and then maybe even like yellow, it's called a fence top, like Little League fields.
Yeah.
That's what comes to my head. But then I was also talking to someone, they said that can help prevent objects from flying into the wetlands, because if you're sitting in the dugout, the wetlands area is over there, and again, the west is there, it's constantly, and we're at the bottom of the valley, it's constantly blowing trash in there, and we're constantly removing it. So we thought that would actually be a good dual purpose.
I'm asking because that just adds more impact from our perspective.
Understand, that's why I don't want that to jeopardize the cage, that's why I
Okay.
prefaced.
I know you said that, yes.
Yeah,
That's why I
sure.
brought it up.
If they're not gonna be it does add impact, but if he's not gonna be putting, first of all, we don't know how far away from the wetlands.
That's
it's
right,
gonna be.
that's right.
And maybe, from your property line there, where you're thinking about installing that, how far from that
Sure.
is where you think the wetland, just for a ballpark, obviously it's not gonna be.
I mean, I don't know, what defines the typical start of it? Is it just the brush line, or is it something,
Well, can you see water? How long have you lived there?
4.5 years?
Okay, so in the springtime, can you see water? Where is there standing water?
I'm sorry?
The stream, the wetland, where are you going to put it, Sean? Right there, the tree stand.
Tree stays. can I see water? It's at least 100 feet in the distance.
Okay.
When
I
it
would
rain-
say.
When it rains heavy, does that area become waterlogged?
It's all brush, I don't know.
But it doesn't go onto your property, like you're not
No.
getting flooding or anything on your property, the water's not
No.
standing on your property?
Hills here, properties here, wetlands goes down into there.
Okay.
Seems like the low point, right below Stillwater, right? Little valley.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, and then there's another house there, so it must be in between. Yeah, yeah. It must be in between the two houses where the lowlands are there.
So, I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not good with this stuff. When we bought the house, they said, there's the wetlands.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I say on the other side of the fence, on the patio, right, is the wetlands. And then at the bottom, in what we call the flat, where I showed you, where the brush and the weeds are, that's the wetlands. But I'm obviously coming in here,
Are there many trees where you're gonna be putting the cage?
So there's
There's
one
one
big
tree.
tree
One big tree?
right there.
that will not move.
Okay,
Got it.
okay.
I assume you're gonna get a ball throwing machine too?
In 2006, I was asked to throw BP for the Mets, so I'm the machine.
Well, there you go. So I think one other thing with the dugout, when you add that to this, you draw the box here and tell us the dimensions of it on the map here. You mentioned, and I love this, I appreciate it very much, your rain barrel. You said that you'd be putting a rain barrel in with the gutter to catch from the
The
roof.
dugout, yeah.
Great idea with that. What we need to see that on the map. So if,
Okay.
like, you draw the box for your dugout, put the little circle next to that, right next to it, and says the rain barrel. And the last thing is, you just got to put some note on here to what it said, like what's happening with the overflow. So if it rains so much that your barrel overflows, is it just going onto the ground? Are you going to make it dispersed? Are you putting gravel down and going to let it
Right.
just go out? Like whatever it is, you just have to put something along those lines.
Does gravel work? Because that's what I would think. Does gravel work?
You can if you want to. It's pervious.
It's pervious.
Not like a crazy. We don't need a crazy amount, just where it's
Right.
going to be overflowing. So
Sure.
you're not doing, not getting a lot of erosion in that area.
Got it. Got it.
Rain barrel.
So, okay.
And the ground, where you're having the actual batting, but in the batting cage area, what are you going to be doing with that ground?
Nothing.
Just going to let it be.
Just gonna let it be.
All right.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so, unfortunately, I don't think we can't vote on this tonight, I'm sorry to
Okay.
say.
Yep.
I know that puts a burden on you to come back before us again,
Yep.
but for us to be able to vote, just so you're aware, one of the biggest things we have to do is have a complete file for the public to inspect. So one of the very first step that we have to take here is actually say, yes, we got it, we got all your documents in here, we're putting it into a public file, and we advertise in the newspaper and say, this project is gonna happen. Does anybody have any issues with this? Or if you want to inspect the project itself, you can come to town hall and review the file, which is complete. So that's the first thing we vote on, is whether or not the file is complete. Within after 2 meetings, so not the next one, but the one after, you come back before us. We review if there's been any comments. 99% of the time, there are no comments, especially not on a project of this size most of the time. We then vote. We ask you if there's been any changes in the plan. You say yes or no. We review that, and then we vote to grant you the application, in which case you can pick it up from Rose, the board secretary, and begin your plan immediately.
So I guess okay, I'm sorry, is there anything else? Or-
Nope.
Thanks for laying that out too, it's helpful.
Pardon? We do have a deed. You include, I believe I just saw the deed in here, right?
Yes.
You have a deed.
Okay.
Yes.
No
Rose-
problem there.
Rose pulled it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just trying to, I would think that there's some sort of survey or public document already.
You may be
existing.
able to, if you go to the building department, you may be able to see if they
Where did you get this? The diagram you get, the plan you get, one you.
I want to say it's in our binder in our home, or even when we were looking at the house 4 or 5 years ago, pictures that I had taken. But I want to say it's in the binder that we have, but clearly it's insufficient, which is frustrating to me. You'd think that would be a required piece of it.
The only reason why it's insufficient is because you're adding to it.
Okay,
Okay, that's why I'm saying, I think that might be, if you have a better version or a cleaner version of this, and you work from that, that may be a good starting point for you.
I mean, this is, honestly, this would be fine if you were
Right.
able to add the things that we talked about. The easy ones are, you know, the dugout and making sure you have the dimensions in that, the rain barrel, that's all easy. The most difficult thing on here is that you're gonna have to do is the wetlands. Is we need to know where that wetland boundary is.
sure,
So then we can determine, you know, where in here
sure.
is our line of distinction, line of jurisdiction, let's say. And so that really is the limiting factor on this, is once you have that wetlands in here, the rest is just, you can take the clean version you have of this, draw in the things that we mentioned.
Yep.
Include the couple of notes that we had
Yep.
asked for.
Yep.
And you should be good to go. And if you want, I can review the couple of notes that I took, the things, just to make sure you got them all.
Sure.
Cool. So, one thing that, let's see, the wetland line, so that's the line of, the actual buffer line, so where the wetlands are, and then 100 feet beyond that, where the actually wetland boundary ends.
Yep,
You need to add the dugout and the rain barrel to the plan.
yep,
In your overview area here, you need to add a couple of more things in here. One of them is, you can describe in here what would happen with the rain barrel overflow.
Yep.
So I mean, that's just, you know, 1 or 2 sentences in here about, I'm gonna put gravel down right below the rain barrel and let it, or however you wanna handle that.
yep,
You also need to add a note where you're talking about the silt fence.
yes.
So one of the things per code that we require is that before you start your project,
Okay,
after you've gotten your permit, before you start your project, you gotta give our wetlands inspector a call here and say, hey, can you come out and inspect the actual silt fence? I installed it,
okay,
and then have him come out, he says, yes, you're good to go, you can start work. And then at the end of your work, before you remove that silt fence, after you've finished all your work, call him again, he comes out, he makes sure that the silt fence is still there and that there's no erosion that's going into the wetlands, and then you can remove it. He gives you the approval to remove it. So you need to add those 2 notes into your plan. One is call after installation of wetland silt fence before start of work, and then at the end of your project, call at the end of the project before removing the silt fence.
I heard you say that to the last gentleman, if I'm not mistaken. Okay,
So that's something that needs to be added in here. And the last thing that I noticed that we require that is not included is a silt fence detail. So this is a standard thing. If you type in silt fence detail in Google, you'll get the you know, generic ones that are on there. Essentially, it's just the diagram of what this silt fence is.
Yep.
Basically, we require a wire back silt fence. You put in here the proper things, it needs to be buried approximately 2 feet, that's perfect. But you just need to show us the standard, put in the file so it's complete.
yep,
The
And the
standard
diagram.
detail, the diagram. So just print that out,
Okay.
give it to Rose, or, you know, email it to Rose and say, please add this to the file, and
Got
then you're
it.
good on that.
okay.
The supports for the actual cage, what do they consist of?
It's just steel tubing,
Steel tubing?
1 7/8 or 2 3/8, 11 or 13 gauge,
Yeah,
and they go into a sleeve, into the ground.
okay.
And then there's just a little bit of concrete.
How far down in the ground do you anticipate going?
Yeah, I have it right here. I think it's, there's 10 poles, so there's 4 on the ends. And those go 24 inches deep. And then the 6 inner poles only go 18 inches deep.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything, Anthony?
Did-
I'm good. Okay. All right.
All right.
All right, we'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks if you can get this stuff to us, and
Yep,
we'll get you on your way on getting this done. And again, I appreciate that you're doing the right thing and making
Yeah.
sure that we're protecting the wetlands and our neighbors' properties and all
for
that.
sure. Just one last question,
Yeah.
because I know they put in the previous owners put in a patio. I believe I saw that in the file, in our house file, whatever you would call it somewhere.
Mhm.
And I believe they applied for that. And that thing borders on the wetlands, because it's between our house and then the fence that is the wetland. So I'm thinking that somehow, somewhere, some way, they have this information.
Oh, where the wetlands are? You can, You may be, I see, on the same guy. You may be able to get that information through, you can definitely get the information, but I don't know, exactly know the right ways to go about. You can try asking
The
the
building
engineering or the
department.
building department, probably the
Yeah.
building.
Rich or,
That's Mike Carnaz.
Or she might ask Rose, if it was applied for
That's true.
first, she might have it with Rose.
The other people probably applied for it, maybe.
Right.
Do you have any other information, like the date or anything like that? Well, you have to look at your whole house.
I mean, they were pretty far away though, too, but whatever.
03, 04, 05-ish?
You can definitely ask Rose, and
Okay.
she can ask, but the other way, thing you can do is, if you run into, any situations, there's always the option to FOIL for information as well. Freedom of Information Law, there's a form you fill out saying, I'd like this information, and it usually gets to the right place if Rose isn't able to help you with
If
that.
you check the file from your neighbor in the building department, you might
That's, yeah,
see that,
yeah. So,
where the wetlands are.
it's a good place to
Ask the
check.
neighbor.
The neighbors, yeah. You can look at that. That's
Sure.
public information.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It might be
Yeah.
on the plans, or you might actually, there might actually be plans that show where it is on the neighbor's property.
So start with Rose.
Yeah.
If not, try FOIL, or not,
I would say building department is your
Building.
second step, but
Yeah.
if you're talking to Rose, she's probably gonna approach that anyways.
right, okay.
Yeah, Rich could be helpful on that. He's got,
Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
You're welcome.
See you again
Good
soon.
evening.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, we have a couple of other quick items. Thank you. Thank you. Not that one, this one. All right, so the first one we'll do is a bond return. This was a $1,000 tree bond, Diego and Lorena Duran, 928 Peekskill Hollow Road, Putnam Valley, New York. I didn't actually get a note, don't think I got a note indicating that anyone had gone and checked these. But Rose indicated that this was one that we should vote on for this evening, or sign. So, all right, so whatever, I'll take a motion to return the $1,000 tree bond to 928 Peekskill Hollow Road, Diego and Lauren Duran. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'll return this tree bond, I'll sign it in a moment. All right, next thing we have is minutes. Ed, you can't vote on the January 2nd meeting, and I still have not got confirmation that you can vote on that. So we're gonna let this go until,
Well, they
Next
indicated
time.
something if the minutes were read.
if the minutes were read, but because he wasn't on the board
Right.
during that one, that was the one that we're not sure about, so
Right.
whatever, wait on that one. The next one is 7/2/20. I was absent, so July 2nd, I was absent on that one. I did read the minutes for it though, so I also can vote on this, but so can I I'd like to entertain a motion for accepting the minutes of July 7th, 2020,
I'll make that motion.
July 2nd.
July 2nd, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty, I think that wraps us up this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone.